RT Mart, once an unbeatable force in the retail sector that famously went 19 years without closing a single store, has finally been sold. At the start of 2025, Alibaba officially announced the sale of its entire stake in RT Mart for 13.138 billion Hong Kong dollars. Compared to the 54 billion Hong Kong dollars paid in 2017, Alibaba suffered a massive loss of over 37 billion. In fact, this deal had been foreshadowed. Rumors of Alibaba seeking a buyer began in late 2023. By February of the following year, Alibaba board chairman Joe Tsai stated that RT Mart was no longer a core business and its sale was logical. Over the past year, Alibaba is estimated to have approached at least 3 buyers, but none offered the right price until the deal was struck with DCP Capital. Furthermore, RT Mart had already been in decline, closing over 20 stores in just over a year, facing falling revenue, losses, and shareholder sell-offs. How did this former king of supermarkets fall so far? Is it Alibaba's lack of competence or simply the difficulty of the physical retail business? In this video, I will walk you through the rise and fall of RT Mart. Discussing RT Mart is impossible without mentioning its soul and helmsman, Peter Huang, the architect of its retail empire. The public often mistakes him for the founder, but that isn't the case. The Emperor of Employees is a more fitting title. The true founder of RT Mart is Samuel Yin, the scion of Taiwan's Runtex Group. Runtex started in the textile industry, originating in Shanghai before moving to Taiwan, eventually expanding into a massive conglomerate covering finance, real estate, and more. During the 1996 Asian financial crisis, Taiwan's textile market plummeted, and Runtex could not escape the fallout. To offset losses in the textile sector, Runtex management set its sights on physical retail, founding RT Mart in Taiwan in 1996. However, the Runtex Group had absolutely no experience in the retail industry and had no idea how to operate it. This is when Peter Huang made his grand entrance. Huang and Samuel Yin of Runtex were college classmates with similar backgrounds. In their youth, both were like street hoodlums who didn't take their studies seriously. Eventually, they both turned their lives around. As a second-generation heir, Yin followed his father's wishes to enter the group for succession training. Coincidentally, after graduation, Huang also joined Runtex. Yin's father looked after Huang because of his friendship with his son, and Huang proved to be incredibly capable, rising from a factory manager to the general manager of Runtex Global within 14 years. Huang Mingtuan was a highly capable and trusted old classmate, so Yin Yanliang chose him without hesitation to lead RT Mart. Huang did not let his classmate down. He was a master of learning and quickly absorbed the operational expertise of his European and American counterparts after taking office. Following a period of planning and preparation, the first RT Mart store, fully modeled after Carrefour and Walmart, opened in Taoyuan County, Taiwan, in early 1997, receiving a frenzied welcome from the local public. Huang also recognized the potential of the mainland market. Just months after the Taiwan store opened, he traveled to the mainland to scout locations, finalizing plans for major cities in East, North, and Northeast China. In 1998, RT Mart's first mainland store opened in Shanghai, followed by others. At the time, RT Mart focused on a sophisticated experience, attracting customers with beautiful decor and curated goods. In that era, they were making fresh sushi and frying dough sticks right in the supermarket, which was truly eye-catching. By 1999, the company had reached 24 billion yuan in revenue, surpassing the veteran retail giant Macro. The reason Huang was able to carve out a niche for RT Mart in just a few years was largely due to his ability to learn and adapt. In media interviews, he stated, "My operations and procurement are learned from the US, the store design is learned from Europe, and the product selection is learned from the mainland." For example, Huang observed that Walmart and Carrefour's China operations fell into two extremes. The former's headquarters held too much power, making local store operations rigid, while the latter's stores had too much autonomy, weakening centralized management. In response, Huang adopted a middle path. Headquarters focused on the supply chain, handling procurement and logistics to lower costs through direct sourcing, while individual stores flexibly adjusted prices, membership perks, and in-store displays, tailoring services to local consumers and maximizing the initiative of both the headquarters and the local branches. By 2001, following China's entry into the WTO, foreign retailers flooded in. With Carrefour and Walmart expanding aggressively, RT Mart faced a serious threat. To foster a powerful alliance, Runtex Group voluntarily released a 67% stake to bring in the French retail giant Auchan Group, forming a Sino-French joint venture. The joint venture operated on two tracks, managing both the Auchan and RT Mart retail brands simultaneously. It is said that RT Mart studied Auchan obsessively at the time, copying nearly all of their internal operating documents to launch a bottom-up operational reform. Simply put, it was rural areas encircling the city's strategy. While foreign supermarkets were still focused on first and second-tier cities, RT Mart expanded into third-tier cities and counties, even offering free shuttle buses for shoppers from surrounding towns. These stores in smaller cities accounted for about 85% of their total, contributing significantly to their sales revenue. For example, in 2005, the RT Mart store with the highest annual sales in the country, reaching 700 million yuan, was located in the county-level city of Kunshan. RT Mart also liked to expand rapidly through partnerships. You might remember seeing supermarkets like Bairunfa, Zinfafa, or Tinlanfa growing up. They weren't knockoffs but actually part of the RT Mart system. They operated as joint ventures where RT Mart provided the brand and operations while partners provided the capital. Bairunfa, for instance, was a collaboration between RT Mart and the Baihui Group. This model lasted for a long time, and only starting in 2006 were the names gradually unified. Thanks to this forward-thinking strategy, RT Mart achieved rapid, low-cost expansion, especially after the 2008 Beijing Olympics, as China's economy entered the fast lane and spending power in second- and third-tier cities was activated. RT Mart's revenue growth surged to over 30% for 2 consecutive years. By 2010, its revenue had reached 40.4 billion yuan, successfully surpassing Carrefour to become the retail champion in mainland China. Subsequently, RT Mart merged with France's Auchan to form Sun Art Retail, which went public on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in 2011. At the time, the Runtex Group held about 32% of the shares, Auchan held about 63%, and the remaining portion was held by Yin Yiliang and Hillhouse Capital founder Zhong Lei. However, with the rise of e-commerce, RT Mart's offline customer base was gradually diverted to online platforms. Meanwhile, rising store operating expenses and labor costs became new hidden threats for the company. To combat e-commerce, Chairman Huang Mingtuan chose to take the initiative. Since they couldn't beat them, they would join them. In 2013, he personally took charge and launched their own e-commerce platform, Fineu.com, to embrace the online market. To be fair, Fineu.com did achieve decent results. According to Sun Art Retail's 2017 semi-annual financial report, after 3 years of operation, Fineu.com had accumulated 28 million registered members, including 3.5 million active members, with a half-year turnover of 1.8 billion yuan. But the price RT Mart paid for this was far greater than the returns, because Fineu.com couldn't find its footing and kept burning money by changing tracks. It started as a simple online marketplace for RT Mart, then switched to a fresh food e-commerce platform with delivery services. In 2017, they launched a wholesale platform targeting small and medium-sized retailers and started recruiting offline agents to open Fineu convenience stores. Over the course of more than 3 years, RT Mart invested over 1 billion yuan, resulting in losses exceeding 400 million yuan. At the same time, Alibaba's Freshippo and NetEase's Yanxuan rose to prominence with a new retail concept, while Fineu.com's performance steadily declined. Just as RT Mart retreated online, Alibaba suddenly proposed an acquisition. Back then, Alibaba was at its peak, and Jack Ma was considered a legendary figure of the internet. Having reached the top of e-commerce, Jack Ma bluntly stated that the era of pure e-commerce would soon end, and the future would belong solely to new retail. With Jack Ma setting the tone, major internet giants began a frenzy of acquisitions in the offline retail sector. For instance, Tencent invested in Yonghui and Better Life, JD.com acquired stakes in Yonghui and Walmart, and Meituan invested in Miss Fresh. Of course, Alibaba was not idle. In early 2017, after acquiring In Time Retail, Alibaba immediately set its sights on RT Mart. Initially, RT Mart's shareholder, Runtex Group, was resistant to the acquisition, but Huang Mingtuan pessimistically believed there was no hope left for traditional models. He felt the future belonged to the internet and new retail, and whoever could lead RT Mart to new heights should be the majority shareholder. As for who had that qualification, it was clearly Alibaba. Thus, Huang Mingtuan used reason and sentiment to persuade Yin Yanlang to agree to the acquisition. Ultimately, in November 2017, Alibaba invested HK $22.4 billion to acquire a 36.16% stake in Sun Art Retail. Following that, in 2020, Alibaba increased its investment to gain full control of RT Mart with a 72% stake. After joining Alibaba, RT Mart underwent an inside-out transformation. It started with a management overhaul. CEO Huang Mingtuan retired and was succeeded by Alibaba veteran Lin Xiaohai. Then, Auchan supermarkets were integrated into the RT Mart system to create Auchan Daojia. Fineu.com, which had operated for over 3 years, was renamed the RT Mart Fresh app to focus on B2C. They also installed the same hanging chain systems used by Freshippo, launched the Taoshanda project, integrated deeply with LA.me, and to adapt to different customer bases, diversified into formats like RT Mart Superstores, M-Members stores, as well as smaller and medium-sized RT Mart locations. To summarize these transformations, it was essentially about making RT Mart more e-commerce oriented to facilitate online ordering for consumers. As for whether it was a failure or a success, it is hard to judge, as RT Mart did maintain its composure for a few years, with revenue staying around 100 billion yuan and net profits around 3 billion yuan. But it all came to an abrupt end in 2022, when RT Mart saw its first historical loss. Along with the losses came store closures. In 2024, RT Mart closed 16 stores and saw 20,000 employees leave. Facing such results, Alibaba lost its patience. Since the end of 2023, there have been rumors that Alibaba is looking for a buyer for RT Mart. Ultimately, on New Year's Day this year, Alibaba transferred all its shares in RT Mart to Boyu Capital for a maximum price of approximately 13.138 billion Hong Kong dollars. Unless there is some hidden agenda, Alibaba suffered a massive loss of nearly 37 billion on this investment, showing they have truly lost hope in brick-and-mortar retail. Yet, if Alibaba hadn't cut its losses, it would likely have fared even worse, as the retail sector is facing a collective winter. Supermarkets are struggling more than ever. Carrefour is down to single-digit stores nationwide, China Resources Vanguard has closed thousands of stores in 2 years, and Hunan Babugao is drowning in debt and nearly bankrupt. In fact, even with Yonghui learning from Pang Donglai, their performance remains in the red. Furthermore, RT Mart faces an intractable historical issue. As we mentioned earlier, it prefers locations in second- and third-tier cities, which account for about 85% of its total footprint. In the early stages of economic development, this approach was quite effective, but even the number of second- and third-tier cities will eventually reach saturation. Moreover, over a decade has passed, and RT Mart's original site selections have become outdated. Due to urbanization and real estate development, second- and third-tier cities, especially county-level ones, have aggressively developed new districts. They have moved government offices, hospitals, and schools from old urban areas to these new districts, while high-speed rail stations and commercial complexes are also being built there, causing the population to shift accordingly. This has led to a shrinking population in the old urban areas, leaving behind an aging demographic with insufficient purchasing power. Most of the locations chosen by RT Mart over a decade ago have lost their former advantages. Additionally, the once core consumer base has aged, while today's young people prefer online shopping. Consequently, the traditional business model is no longer suitable for dominating this market. Without the resolve for radical reform, RT Mart will likely struggle to avoid the fate of continued losses and store closures. Finally, regarding why Alibaba was so eager to abandon RT Mart, besides RT Mart being a drag on their performance, Alibaba itself is not doing well. As the cornerstone of the Alibaba group, the e-commerce business has been hit hard by competitors like Pinduoduo and Douyin in recent years, long since losing its former dominant position. Many of Alibaba's ecological investments in other fields have failed to bring substantial traffic to its e-commerce business, becoming a drag on growth instead, and the best solution is divestment. Therefore, shedding non-core assets to return to the core e-commerce business has been a strategic focus frequently mentioned by Alibaba over the past 2 years. Physical retailers like RT Mart often require large teams for store operations and inventory management, making them prime candidates for optimization. In fact, when Alibaba decided to divest its non-core assets, the companies it sold stakes in included not just RT Mart, but also in Time Retail, Huayi Brothers, and others. As Alibaba Group's new CEO Eddie Wu stated, they will prioritize existing businesses based on market size, business models, and product competitiveness, categorizing them into core and non-core operations. They then intend to realize the value of all non-core assets as quickly as possible through various capitalization methods. It is rumored that Hema is also on Alibaba's divestment list. If they are even willing to give up Hema next, it seems Alibaba truly intends to exit the game.